Hi friends, I am going to be doing some Kurinuki carving today, and I know a few people were disappointed that my workshop didn't go ahead on the weekend, and a couple of people have messaged saying they'd really like a tutorial, so here I am. I am going to try and show you the process that I go through, and hopefully it'll make some sense to you. I know there's lots of people doing tutorials and things at the moment. It's keeping me busy watching other people and what they do, but hopefully this might make some sense to you and you'll be able to adopt it into some of your practices. So first of all, if you don't know, Kurinuki is the carving out or the hollowing out of a solid block of clay. So what I do is I tend to prepare my clay a little bit first, and I will show you how here. So, as you can see, I tend to beat my clay a little bit and leave it out for a while to dry. If you want to dry it a bit slower, stick it in a plastic bag or put it in a polystyrene box if you have one. And once it's fairly solid, then it's a good time to carve. Depending on the clay, some clays I carve completely soft. Other clays I wait till they're quite hard and then carve them. Sometimes I do a combo of the two. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can do things. This clay here is SB15 Primo clay, and I find it's the easiest clay to start off with. So just to give you an example, this is a finished tea bowl that I carved quite a while ago and was fired in the wood-fired kiln at the Quarry Arts Centre in Whangarei, a good 36 hours or so. I tend to not, on anything I make, I don't put handles. Lots of people do put handles, either attach a handle later, or there are some people who actually carve a handle out. I like the idea of cuddling my tea bowl or cuddling my cup. I like the idea that tea is something that we should cherish and take our time to drink and really get to know the vessel that we're actually drinking from. So I don't put handles on my cups. In saying that, the cup that I'm drinking from now has a handle. Yeah, but I don't put them on my own. So you can go really square. This has been carved out of a really hard, solid red block of clay, some clay that I got from another potter that had dried out and she wasn't using it anymore. These were carved from Feeney's Red Raku and Feeney's BRT, and they were carved at a much softer kind of stage. There's a lot of grog in these clays, and I prefer to have a real textured kind of piece, both on the outside and on the inside. I don't know if you can really see that. But yeah, so I'll often carve at that soft kind of stage. Here's a piece that's in still at a greenware stage. It hasn't been bisquied yet. It's been carved from Feeney's White Raku. I tend to use those three clays, but when I run a workshop I will use SP15. So yeah, so you'll see I tend to leave rills on the inside these days and go for a more textured look. You can do it however you like. I certainly, when I started out carving, I would go for a much softer and smoother inside, but yeah, these days I like extra texture, and I like you to know that I've actually been there. It's kind of got my fingerprints all over it. So let's carve. These tools break and probably get a bit more wear and tear doing this than they would otherwise, so hence I have a number of options just in case they do break halfway through. Okay, so I'm going to hollow out a few bits of the inside. Pretty much just take it down a little, not that much on the inside. Leave it there. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to start cutting my foot. Just because that's what I like to do, and it's generally my favourite part. So just in case you're not sure, this is the foot of the cup. And you can carve it any which way you like. It's a much smaller one. This one. And what else? That's a pretty intense, crazy beast of one. Now, I don't usually have an idea of what I want something to look like before I do it. I kind of like the idea of just working slowly and letting the clay, I know it sounds crazy, but almost letting the clay speak to me or decide on where it wants to go. I find if I rush this process, I end up going too thin with the wall and making a hole, or yeah, it just doesn't seem to have the same love and attention that perhaps it would have done if it was just done quite slowly and meditatively. Personally, if you know my work, know that I don't like things that are even. So I tend to make things lopsided or uneven. But if you wanted your foot to be completely in the middle or perfectly circular, you could get a little cutting tool or measure it out first before you carve it. You can still just really adapt this into your own style or your own way of working. Now it's handy to have a mat or a piece of paper or something underneath, just so you can twist and turn. You can also use a banding wheel if you want to. Sometimes I do, or if I'm making something really large I would use the banding wheel, but it really doesn't matter. Sometimes I don't use anything and I just handle the clay like crazy, because I don't really care. I know some people say you shouldn't handle it that often, but I don't care. Okay, this is looking like it might be relatively square with quite a large foot. Now I tend to come back and go over the same parts quite often, just because things develop as you're going along. So I've made quite a high foot, and I'm now just going to carve a piece out of the middle with kind of a roundish tool. is relatively compressed, and as you can see now, it's not a very big foot after all. Okay, now I'm going to take my favourite tool and I'm just going to make some cuts. I'm going to try and bring it closer. So you can cut with anything that you like. You can even use your kidney if you want to and cut down and pull it out. And that will give you more of a kind of rocky sort of look, or a real raw kind of look on the clay. I quite enjoy that. I often do that with bigger pieces. Might have some bits like that, but generally I'm just actually feel how thick your walls are. Obviously when you're on the wheel or when you're hand building, you're constantly feeling how thick your walls are when you're just carving. And particularly if you're doing it quick and you're not really thinking about it, you can go really thin and not really be aware of the fact that some parts of your walls like here might be a bit thin, and you might have these really kind of thick bits on the corner that really need to be either carved out more or take a bit off the outside.
So then, why?
So I tend to leave the rim of the cup quite thick. I I carve out the inside, do the outside, inside first, because otherwise I find you've already cut this quite thin rim and it cracks or it breaks or you lean on it. So I leave this fairly thick so that if you accidentally lean on it or a bit breaks off, it's not actually the end of the world, and you can kind of just carve that out at the end. It pays to, when you are doing the rim at the end, because it will have dried out a bit, to really give the cup some love and try and do it as slow as you can, and yeah, just really cuddle it as you would do on the wheel. And different clays, of course, work differently. Much as SB15 can be kind of easy at times, sometimes it's it's harder. And this clay is probably a little bit softer than I would usually carve SB15. I think it's worth leaving it until it's relatively dry, like that it hasn't actually got any give sort of in it, and you can really carve it and not be so worried, but this is a little bit soft. So carving this rim, it's going to be a bit harder than normal. That's okay, because we like a challenge. If you're finding it's getting a bit dry or a bit gross, then I tend to just stick my finger in my cup of tea. I know it's COVID-19 and we're meant to be washing our hands and everything, but I've washed my hands 100 times and I'm pretty sure this clay is fine. So I am, oh look, I've got 2 cups of tea, so I'll use the end of this one for my finger and then I can drink from that one. So just if you need a tiny bit to smooth it. Okay. With this clay, because it's still a little bit soft, if I wanted to, I would then leave it like, sorry, emptying the inside, I would leave it like that, maybe for a day or so, and wait till it's properly leather hard, and then come back and just give it a really light, just a light kind of touch-up carve over the top, and maybe just make sure that the inside is even or the way that I want it to be. Yeah, so that's the general gist of doing a teacup. A tea bowl is much the same, but obviously you're going for a much wider, lower shape, so you might start with a block that's more this kind of shape, and you're going to get a different different shape, different effect. Here's my original tea bowl if you're wanting to Oh shit. So that's it from me. Thanks for joining, listening, being here, and I hope you're staying safe.